So the first article I wanted to look at is titled, "In the Wake of the MAGA Insurrection, Jim Bakker Now Insists That Christians Don't Riot." This is by Kyle Mantilla on rightwingwatch.org. Now, they have a few clips thrown together here of Jim Bakker. So what I wanted to do was actually read the opening to this article, and then we'll take a look at some of these clips. So let's give this a read and see what it says. On Tuesday's episode of his Jim Bakker Show television program, End Times pastor Jim Bakker and his guest, End Times author Jonathan Cahn, insisted that Christians had nothing to do with the January 6th insurrection in Washington, D.C., when supporters of then-President Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol in an effort to prevent Congress from certifying the election for Joe Biden. Bakker and Cahn insisted that even though Christians played no role in the chaos at the Capitol, left-wing activists are nonetheless trying to use the event to justify shutting down churches and persecuting believers. So let's watch this clip and see what Jim Bakker has to say for himself. Remember, this first clip we're about to watch here, this is brand new. This is something that he said on his show just the other day. So let's listen.
Christians don't burn buildings down. Christians don't riot. They just don't.
Okay. That's clear, right? That's clear. Christians do not riot or burn things down or take part in any of that shenaniganery, right? I mean, that's on the line. Does not get clearer than that. So now let's listen to a few clips of Jim Bakker over the course of the past 4 years and see what else he's had to say about this stuff.
I want to warn America. You're warning America. I think if we elect the wrong people and you see how wrong it's been, we're going to have a revolution.
Uh-oh. It's starting to become more and more clear that, maybe he did advocate for this kind of thing. But what was that he said at the end there? Let's listen to this clip again.
Wrong it's been. We're going to have a revolution.
He may not be talking about Christians there, right? I mean, maybe he was just saying that people are going to be upset, not necessarily Christians. Who knows? Let's be super generous to the guy, okay? Let's listen to the next clip.
I'll tell you what, if...
this one's about the impeachment, by the way. The next 3 clips of Jim Bakker, they're him talking about the impeachment, the first impeachment.
If they go through with that, there will be a riot in the United States of America. And you're going to find little old ladies rioting.
Yes.
You're going to find the church people out rioting because they're not going to take it anymore. No.
Uh-oh. He said church people will be rioting. I thought just a few minutes ago what was it he said?
Don't burn buildings down. Christians don't riot.
Huh. That's weird. Is this some kind of a hypocrisy we're uncovering? Is this guy hypocritical? Let's listen to the next one.
There's going to be an explosion if you don't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
People are not going to tolerate it any longer.
They're calling it the next American Civil War.
Oh, so they're not talking about peaceful protests then. They're talking about civil war. They're talking about serious shit. And in the last clip, they made it clear that they were talking about Christians taking part in this.
And and I wouldn't even be surprised if you don't see quiet old ladies like some of you sitting here marching in the streets.
This one is also about the impeachment.
I will predict if it happens, there will be a civil war in the United States of America. The Christians will finally come out of the shadows because we are going to be shut up permanently if we're not careful.
This guy believes that Christians are going to be persecuted in the U.S. He believes that they're being persecuted in the U.S. right now. This guy is on a new level of delusional. But, I do this for a living. I sit here and look through these preachers day in and day out. Not just preachers, but governing body members and prophets of all shapes and sizes. And I get the impression, based on Jim Bakker's history, that he's a scam artist. I don't have any evidence to back that up. I don't know. Maybe he genuinely does believe this stuff. But after listening to the things that he says and contradicting himself constantly, and all of the scandals that he's gotten into over the years, the endless scandals, I have a tendency to believe that he's full of shit, and he knows he's full of shit. Like, people ask me if I think the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses are legitimate and really do believe the bullshit that they're pushing down people's throats, or if they are knowingly deceiving people and lying to them. Like, do they know they're full of shit or not? And Ray Franz, an ex-governing body member, he left Jehovah's Witnesses back in the 80s. He left the religion. He was anointed and the whole 9 yards. And when he left, they changed policy specifically for him. So if somebody leaves the religion of their own free will, up to that point in the 80s, before he left, you didn't have to shun them. You could remain friends with them. But when he left, they changed policy specifically to make it so people couldn't talk to him anymore. Now, if they willingly disassociate, you should be shunning them. And if you don't, you can be disfellowshipped too for talking to them. People used to ask Ray Franz that question. Is the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, are they knowingly and willingly deceiving people, or are they victims of their own propaganda? And he said, in answer to that question, there may be like one or two people out there who don't believe it or who are cynical and are trying to manipulate people, but by and large, for the most part, most of these people do believe it. They are victims of their own propaganda. That was his position on it. Now remember, this was back in the 1980s, and 70s and 80s. The governing body has changed since then, but I kind of go with what Ray Franz had to say about it. I think I agree with him. I believe that Jehovah's Witnesses, the governing body members, really do believe the shit that they peddle. And I believe that that's the case with most leaders of cults. I think for the most part, they believe their own bullshit. Like Charles Manson, the guy had something broken in his brain, absolutely no doubt. But I wonder if he really believed that he was Jesus. I think he may have. Same with the Mormon prophet. I think he believes it. But Jim Bakker? I don't know. I don't know about Jim Bakker. There are only so many scandals and hypocrisies that you can take part in before I start to believe that you know what you're doing.